Hi there, Ronnie here, coming at you with a video. Um, interesting post sort of debate that happened on the YouTube RPG Brigade page the other day, and I was busy with other stuff, so never got a chance to make a video until now. And it wasn't so much a disagreement or anything like that. It was more a difference in style that intrigued me. I am running a horror game using the True20 system, and as is so often the case with a lot of my games, especially my horror games where there's some semblance of investigation involved, I'm not big on running combats. I find them time consuming and I find them dull, to be honest. I think sometimes combat or sort of physical altercations can happen, but I'm much more interested in other things going on. So combat doesn't feature very highly on my list, and I really don't. It's funny doing this, we were talking about it and I said like first session. I really don't think of games ultimately in sessions. I tend to think of them in their totality. But this time I am sort of thinking session upon session. And it was interesting to see some comments regarding how much combat people like to put into games. And someone did say that the idea of playing a session where there was no combat was just something they would not be able to do. They would find it tough. Not impossible, you know, they weren't being negative about it or anything. They were just, you know, they were saying they would find it very tough because they like a very combat heavy game, and the group that he's part of like a very combat heavy game. Whilst I don't. I like... Now that doesn't mean that my games lack conflict. There can be lots of conflict involved. And it doesn't mean that they lack combats. It's just that invariably the combats happen because players instigate them. Or they do something that impacts in such a way that a physical altercation becomes far more likely, if not inevitable. I mean, I ran a couple of one-shots and I put a bit more combat in. You know, but I found the combat was padding rather than anything else. Rather than something that interested me. In fact, combat, I found myself, particularly I ran a one-shot kind of piss-take of a dungeon. And I was sitting there going, well, I could put a combat there. You get through that and then you can get to the interesting bit. And that's the way that pretty much combat works for me. It's that thing you do while you pass the time, where you look for something more interesting to do. And to be honest, I'd rather sort of focus on what interests, which is character interaction, investigation, building atmosphere. Strangely, I have a whole load of fantasy games, and I don't use them anywhere near as much as maybe I should, because they do tend to be very combat oriented. It's one of the reasons why I bought Blue Rose. It's one of the reasons why I bought A Song of Ice and Fire, because I'm interested in running games that are less focused on combat and more focused on intrigue. That there is more than one kind of conflict that you can have. So I'd be interested in hearing other people's opinions on this. how much combat, if any, do you look for or expect in a game? And would the idea of an entire scenario, or indeed an entire session, being combat free put you off? If you're looking at games not in totality but session by session, do you expect, demand, want at least one combat, if not more, in that session? And by combat, do you expect it to be sort of physical altercation, an actual sword fight, not weapons? Or would social combat, i.e. Intrigue and your characters in a situation where you had to debate a situation out, would that be an interesting combat? Because that kind of combat I like. As a GM, I like sort of social combat as opposed to swords and shields and bows and arrows. So I'm very interested in people's opinions, because it fascinates me about combat and how much people want, how much people enjoy, how much people expect or demand from their game. And when you're writing a game and when you're plotting out everything, do you plot it out in terms of session by session? Or do you plot out, as I tend to do, the whole game, and then after the first session maybe make some tweaks depending on how that first session has went? The characters might have went a different direction. So I'm kind of interested in people's opinions on it. Because I'm getting the impression that my sort of viewpoint and ideology on combat is possibly a rarity, which in a sense makes me, I'm sort of, one of the reasons why I was kind of reluctant to do anything for BrigadeCon this year is simply because I can't, I've gotten the impression that my style of game would perhaps not garner any players. So yeah, it's different. Also the fact that I found writing within a 4-hour window to be very, very difficult. So, let me know what you think. I'm very interested. So I'll look forward to seeing your views, and I'll be back soon with another video.